This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Everything is going extremely well.
Well, let's get back to it.
As up to 10 inches of snow began to fall in Britain. We had a north-south temperature divide of 57 Fahrenheit today. Quite pleasantly mild in the south and bloomin' freezing in the north. The Met Office issued an amber warning. Warning! For areas where the worst of the snow is due to fall. That was including but not limited to the hills and the mountains of North Wales and Shropshire and the South Pennines and the Peak District. Wherever that is. Southern England was hit by heavy rain, and more than 400 flood alerts or warnings were in place across the UK. Most of these were in England, 68 warnings and 311 alerts. And you know what to do when there is an alert?
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
The Met Office measured 3.9 inches of snow in Kirkwall in Orkney yesterday, and 3.5 inches was recorded in Bingley in West Yorkshire. And just as a point of order, there is only one way to measure snow, and that is in inches. I think you'll find that is correct. But it's a bit weird to use inches but measure them in points, in decimal points, isn't it? 3.9 inches is just wrong. It's a smashing together of two systems. Shouldn't it be 3 inches and, I've got no idea, 10 twelfths? It's probably 10 twelfths.
Affirmative.
Yeah, about 10 twelfths. Met Office operational meteorologist Dan said, we've still got rain and many have snow making its way northwards. We have got further weather warnings in force, making for challenging driving conditions. It's also difficult to say. Weather warnings. He said drivers should be careful to speed up wherever dangerous to do so. Turn on your headlights and your fog lights too, because that makes you look cool. And always turn on your stereo up to rock concert volume because it makes it difficult to concentrate. Of course, if you are driving a hatchback, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, brighter interludes in the south, rain and some snow persisting in the far north, mostly over higher ground. Well, in the far north. Well, mostly in the northwest, I bet. I mean, I can check on that while you wait, but really, what's the point? I know what it's going to be doing in Glasgow. It's going to be raining and raining and raining and raining and raining and raining and raining. Wow, look at that. It's raining at the minute in Glasgow. It will also be raining tomorrow and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and what? Not raining on Friday. Pfft, rubbish. And then raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday, and we're into the Monday the 19th now, when it will be raining. It'll be raining on the following Tuesday and the Wednesday and the Thursday. Basically every day for the rest of your lives. Oh well. It's just weather. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
The next 2 weeks. First, showers or longer spells of rain in the north, drier in the south, becoming mainly dry elsewhere, but turning colder. And then, last week of February, first week of March. Blimey, we're almost into March. It's practically Jesus' birthday again. March. Next couple of weeks. Or, no, the third and fourth week from now. Are you keeping up?
No.
I know I'm not. So, the last week of February, first week of March, drier and more settled than usual, although the remainder of February will be followed by more rain in March. But we'll forget about that part and concentrate on the first bit. Drier and more settled than usual? We'll take it. Here is a suspiciously keen caller in Manchester, Raj.
Hi there, Nick, you okay?
Yeah, well, I'm agitated, I'd have to say.
Oh, already? Already? Nick, I just want to say, and I feel really bad about doing this.
Already?
It's supposed to be 5/6.
5/6?
When you're talking about the inches, you know, the snow, it's not 10 12s.
Could be.
It's 5/6.
Oh, but what if it is?
It's 5/6.
No,
it's 5/6.
I think you'll find that is. Well, let's defer to a mathematical expert.
And one.
Yes.
2.
6.
6 million.
No, that's very close, but about a million out. Thanks a lot, Zaphod. 5/6 and 10 twelfths. Yes.
Not the same.
Of course they're the same.
It's not. It's 5/6. You would never say it at 10 12.
But
you get Point knocked off at school.
Unfortunately, Raj, we're not at school, and you must see me after class, even though we're not at school. Yeah, I say 10/12, you say 5/6. Let's call the whole thing off. No, I am slightly on edge because it took 2 hours to drive just over 10 miles to get here tonight. Because some moron had put on those, you know when you come up to a sign that says temporary traffic lights and you think, oh, no. You think, oh, no. Yeah. See, I'm even hitting the wrong buttons. I'm emotional. I'm emotionally scarred from my journey in tonight. Yeah, it's, and it says a two-way traffic sign, and you think, oh, struth, well, I might as well switch the engine off because I'm going to be here a while. When you see the sign that says a three-way traffic signal, then you think, oh, God, I'm going to have to cancel all my further appointments for, the rest of the month. When it says four-way, you think, yeah, plus, I swear somebody set the traffic lights so that they did not turn from red. It took forever to get through. And somebody may have gone through a red light just out of sheer frustration. That might have happened. No one that I know, of course. It was just such a bizarre night. I mean, people were just going berserk. And I could see the guy behind me because he was in a battery car. And he appeared to be freaking out because his car was going to die on him. So he had to turn all the lights off and, all the rest of it for just forever. Ages and ages and ages. I mean, we must have stood there standing still for at least 20 minutes before any kind of movement. And people could only move if they just went through a red light, which people, they just don't want to do, usually. Most people don't want to go through a red light. I mean, it's only a colour, but it means a lot to us. And so you sit there and you sit there and you sit there and you think, well, I better not go now because, it's bound to change in a second and there'll be a camera somewhere because there always blooming well is. But it just got to the point that I just couldn't stand it anymore, and neither could anybody else. So somebody needs to get there and fix that with a hammer or something heavier. Like a shotgun might be a good idea. Anybody got one? Painful. And I would expect that will just stay there like that for the entire weekend, because is anybody going to be coming back to work on that this weekend?
No.
Of course not. You'd think there'd be some sort of way of viewing traffic. There must be, for crying out loud. We got more cameras pointing at us in this country than they do in China. China. So why isn't anybody doing something about it? I imagine that they're just sitting there and, there's a bank of screens in front of them and they've got stationary cars that are sitting in traffic for an hour before you can get through the blooming traffic lights, waiting for somebody to blast through the red light just so they can find them. But that was everybody. I mean, we all just lost it. We were out of control, but we were driven to it. Of course, it wouldn't be better under Labour. I mean, I could be appalled. I could be pulling my hair out, but I've decided to be amused. But I wasn't amused coming here. And then I'm sitting in traffic, having got into London's fashionable West End, and I was trying to find all my usual parking spaces, and failed on every count. So I had to go to my emergency backup space, which is blooming miles away. And as I was standing at the traffic light, some bloke just knocked on my window. And stood there impatiently for me to wind the window down and see what it was he wanted. And so I yelled through the window without opening it. I said, what? Because I was kind of irate at that point. I mean, he could have been selling me the secret to life. And I would have sent him away, with a what do you call it? A flicked ear. No, with a, never mind. I can't be bothered to think of the correct phrase now. The emotional state I'm in, you wouldn't believe it. And so he banged on the window again, and I said, what do you want? And he said, where are you going? I said, what's it got to do with you? And the lights changed and I sped off at the prescribed limit. Yes, because I'm a good boy, I am, even though I was, highly triggered. I'm having emotional issues. Nick texts, between Titchy Suit Size laughing at the lady the other week in regards to the NHS waiting times and making £1,000 bets with Piers Moron about sending immigrants to Rwanda and transphobic jokes on PMQs this week, is there anyone left in this country he hasn't offended yet? Maybe he wants to be the new Bernard Manning after he leaves politics. Yeah, no. I think not. No, he just doesn't have the delivery. I'm trying hard to remember what Bernard Manning actually sounds like. I can remember what he looks like. There's a man who wouldn't be getting on a plane without getting weighed. Paul texts, I heard someone on TV saying, and they were also furious and very serious, that the King's diagnosed illness could well have been brought on by Harry and Harry and his evil ways. No! Is there nothing Harry and Sparkles won't do in order to get noticed? Well spotted there, Paul. This country, this is a silly country now. It really is. It's gone beyond the pale. We have jumped the shark.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What's he got to be depressed about?
I'll tell you, I've just looked up that thing that I was just not complaining, really.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Yes, I was explaining it, more than complaining it. Explaining I was, and I've just looked up how long that traffic snarl-up is going to be going for, and they say that the roadworks will continue until the end of April. What? End of April. So I'm just going to buy myself a tent and sleep on the street. Ahmed texts, Bojo tweeted the other day that governments around the world are trying to imitate our Rwanda policy. Is he talking about our Earth or some other planet in the universe? Which is it, Bodge? He doesn't know. He'll get back to us after he's scrawled out that what passes for a column in the Daily Mail. Which, by the way, is behind a paywall. Anyone want to pay for that?
No.
I wouldn't think so, no. Bromley, hello, Virginia.
Oh, hi, Nick. Can you hear me?
I can now. There you are, Virginia.
Yes, I was just wanting to share your pain about the four-way traffic.
Yes.
Oh, horrendous.
Isn't it? Awful. Why does temporary traffic lights mean that you're going to be stuck for longer than ordinary traffic lights? Why can't they just sync them?
Well, they just lie. So I was caught in Croydon. I live in Bromley, but I work in Croydon.
Oh.
And that's 40 minutes at the best to get into work and back from work.
Mm-hmm.
But with these four-way traffic, they're doing something on a bridge, some railway bridge over in Croydon.
Yeah.
And everything's just totally gummed up. It takes 2 hours for me to get home.
Everything is nothing works in this country anymore. Have you noticed?
Of course not. Yes, I've noticed. I've been noticing for years. It's not my fault. But I got so frustrated the other day sitting there for like 15, 20 minutes, not moving.
Yes.
I just thought, stuff this. I could see no traffic coming the other way, i.e. on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
I thought, well, why are we sitting here?
Yeah, why?
I just put my ticker up and I thought, I'll take the chance.
Uh-oh.
So I just sideswiped all the cars waiting, and I thought, if I go headlong into sudden traffic coming in the opposite direction and I die, then I die.
Yeah.
I don't care. At
I know.
that point I was so desperate, I just thought, I don't care.
I don't care if I do die.
Exactly. And I didn't die, and there were no cameras.
Are you sure about that? Anything. Have you had expert advice on that you did not die? Because you must be certain before, just blurting that out.
Well, I still feel alive, and I haven't had. They don't with these temporary traffic lights. They don't put cameras on them, so you can take the chance if you're willing to take it.
Oh yeah, well they might not put them on the actual traffic lights, but there's cameras everywhere, Virginia. You can barely move from your living room to your kitchen without getting spotted by a camera.
I know, but I don't think they're going to get me for that. I really don't. It was about 3 weeks ago, and I'm still scot-free on that one. So I just think, stuff it. I just, it's just unbearable. And travelling around in London in the car is just unbearable.
Although, having said that, I was walking around the very centre of London, like Regent Street, Oxford Street, places like that. And this was during the day on Thursday, and I did remark at how quiet the centre of London is compared to how it used to be, because they've now Regent Street used to be 4 lanes of choking traffic, 2 in each direction. Now they've narrowed it. There's only 1 lane in each direction, and there's barely a car or cab on the whole of Regent Street. So some places are moving much smoother than they used to, but where I have just been through was absolute blooming nightmare, Virginia. It's probably the worst I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It's probably the worst thing that has ever happened to a human being.
Oh, no, I do understand it. It's absolutely painful, isn't it? You sit there and you listen to the radio and you listen to LBC, and then finally you get bored and you just think, what else am I going to do? Start pulling my hair out? I don't know.
Well, if I ever get stuck in one of those again, then you can come over and I'll pull your hair out. How does that sound?
Thank you. I'd appreciate that, Nick.
OK, cheers, Virginia. 0345 6060 973. Stu says, I have noticed that you sometimes forget if you have done the adverts or gone to the news. You even forget words or the name of famous people. Have you considered running for president? Well, it's a good job that we in this country don't have a leader who is forgetful.
No, I don't recall, and I don't recall. I can't specifically recall. Can't precisely recall. No, I don't remember. But I don't precisely. I can't remember it precisely. I can't precisely recall that. I don't recall the precise timing and the date, and I don't remember specifically. I don't precisely remember that. I don't recall. I don't recall I can't comment on the particular. Yes, I mean I don't recall seeing. I said I don't recall. Yeah, I can't recall this. That's all I can recall.
It's all he can recall. How entirely believable he is. Carol says, how could Sunak crack transphobic jokes at PMQs? How could he be so crass to bet £1,000 on whether migrants get sent to Rwanda before the election? All Tories have left now is culture wars rather than governing the country. After 14 years, they're scrambling to fix the dentistry crisis by copying Labour's plan. Yeah, well, I think you've nutshelled it there, Carol. After 14 years, they're just scrambling to fix the mess that they made on every issue. And why he would crack transphobic jokes at PMQs is because he learned his lines before Prime Minister's questions, and like all of those ministers, he just goes out and recites the lines that he has learned regardless of the circumstance. They don't think about it anymore. There was that thing, one of those dopes was on somebody else's programme, and they said, we won't unleash our tax cuts unless it's fiscally responsible, unless debt is going down as a percentage of GDP. And the interviewer said, well, debt is actually going up as a percentage of GDP. And this did not compute because this is not the line that they had learned before going out. And so in response to the news which was news to them, remarkable, that debt is going up as a percentage of GDP, was just to repeat the line that they'd learned before they went out, that debt was going down as a percentage of GDP. In other words, we have our own alternative facts now. It's also, what would Donald Trump do? Painful, really. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that America could get to the place where it's where the contest to be the next president of the United States of America would be between Joe Biden, who is so old he looks like he's made out of parchment, and this smart person.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
I'm like a smart person. Brilliant. He's a genius.
Oh, shut up!
So, yeah, it's... and as we sit here and think of ourselves as superior in some way, we like to imagine ourselves as superior in some way to the Americans, because that sort of thing wouldn't happen here. We wouldn't elect a bumbling fool to be the leader of this country.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, yes, we did. Simon says, did you see the ITV doc on the Dear Leader? No. 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 I'm not going to sit there in my own home, in the squalor of my own lounge, and have him invited into my home. No. On TV. Not on TV, not in person. It's a no from me. Anyway, Simon says there was lots and lots of forced fake laughter and not a drop of corruption or right-wingery in sight. He's just like one of us. Fabulous. I will definitely vote for him. And then there's something in brackets which I can't read. Why are you putting up stuff that I can't read for me to read? Rue texts. Sadly, my dentist smashed the top off my wisdom tooth and I had to see a specialist to fish the roots out. I told him about your podcast, as you said you think your teeth might pop out during a sneeze, and he could afford. Now I'm in a ton of pain and desperate for a hot beverage, says Rue. What kind of hot beverage?
Booze.
That would do it. Will texts, Harry will attend the Super Bowl after giving a speech to American footballers without mentioning his father. Why doesn't he just stay in the cellar where we can call him names without him knowing about it? Harry will attend the Super Bowl after giving a speech to American footballers without mentioning his father. Well, who cares? This thing with Harry is... I just revert to my previous comment that this is a silly country now. I mean, our obsession... and I wonder if it's our obsession or whether it's just the newspaper's obsession, because, it's a perfect thing to write about, because he doesn't have to actually do anything. Meghan smiles as King Charles suffers in hospital. That's a story. I pretty much read exactly that this week. Look, there she is, smiling. That was the headline. Meghan smiles. I sort of give up, really. I mean, the last serious person that ran this country, and the last time this country seemed to be serious in any way, was Gordon Brown. And he's just eliminated himself from any further involvement in our politics. He said he's too old for British politics and he's too young for American politics. Stuck in the middle with us.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
What was that? Oh, that was spooky. What just happened there? Oh, I felt like... well, I don't want to say ghost on the air, because then I'll have a lot of you-know-what. But that was really weird. Something just happened at the corner of my eye. It was like somebody put a hand towards me. Not that I'm concerned or anything. Good grief, it's all happening to me tonight. Brighton. Hello, Ben. Can you believe that, Ben?
That actually quite scared me, actually, a little bit,
yeah.
Nick. That little scream.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say a few words, perhaps in sort of with empathy and sympathy with Sunak.
Yes.
I listened to an interview with him, I think a week or so ago, where he talked really movingly about racism and about the racism he suffered as a child.
Rishi Sunak?
Yes, Rishi Sunak did, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And about how his mother was desperate for him to fit in so that he wouldn't suffer racism, which he described as, a sting that never ends, a kind of the most awful. And I'm white, working class, so I'll never understand what a person of colour will suffer in those kind of circumstances. But I'm
in what circumstances?
In the circumstances that if he suffers racism, which I think is awful, but I do think it explains. I think those particular things explain why he's behaving so strangely at the moment. And I really think that
you think Rishi Sunak is acting strangely because at one point in his early life he's suffered a tale of undescribed racism.
I don't even think it's strange. I think that what's happened is that he's so frightened of bullies that he keeps subjecting himself to bullies. So that the people that hate trans people, he subjects himself to them. The Piers Morgan thing was a classic example. He was frightened of bullies, desperate to fit in, I think, because of what happened to him as a youngster.
What happened to him as a youngster?
Well, what happened to him as a youngster was he suffered from racism, and I think that's
you keep saying that, but where's the evidence?
Well, he says that's what he suffered from.
Right.
Okay. He said it, and we have to take his word for that.
Well, it's not like he's told lies about anything else. No, you're quite right. Not like he's known for misinformation.
But I think if you begin to look at it through that lens,
no, I don't.
Then you begin to understand why he.
You're all over the place, Ben. I just can't listen to a single solitary second more. It's absolute nonsense. What are you talking about? I'm sorry, my patience is at an end this evening. I can't entertain that a single second longer. Simon says, living next to a stream, I was very kindly called and texted at 9:33 this morning telling me that there was a possibility of flooding. Talk about shutting the stable door after the horses bolted. Well, by that, do you mean that it had already flooded or what? Pauline says, Gordon Brown, ex-PM, alleged debt is now 100% of GDP, so I think Labour is likely wise to factor in the limitations of Brexit Britain. That makes zero sense. I understand all the words you use there, Pauline, just not in the order in which you use them. Harrow, Jonathan. Let's see
hello, Nick.
See what this one's like. Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, your usual boy today was very, very chatty with me. He spoke to me for like 5 minutes.
Oh, chatty, right. Mm-hmm.
Asked me lots of things because at Christmas you had a different receptionist each night when I did the A to Z with you.
That's right.
Yeah. I had a few points to make, and I know you're already a bit tired of, like with the previous caller who was talking about racism.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Rishi Sunak he is actually very scared of the white men, I think.
Really?
I think so. I think it's because I'm British Indian from Kolkata, and I'm also quite scared of the white men, not that I'm a racist. Can I quickly talk about the thing that's giving me headache?
Yeah, go on.
Because I bought, I'm doing very badly financially, and I bought a bust of Elvis on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Now, wait a minute. Was this a bust of thin Elvis or fat Elvis?
No, when I'm actually looking at it, it's just of his head. It looked very creepy. It was almost £60.
Yeah, but was it...
shop.
Yeah, but was it early Elvis or late Elvis?
Like very early, when he was 23.
Okay. Right, okay. So thin Elvis, right. Go ahead.
And it looked a bit creepy. It's just his head, and it's, like a sort of marble replica. Anyway.
Could you put a sock on it, perhaps?
No, because I want to put it in my cabinet. But since that happened, I've had some court litigation that I won't talk about on the radio. I had a Pakistani lawyer charging me £360 an hour.
Wow.
And then my landlord, he sent a fat man round who said that he wants to...
Hang on. Was he a professional fat man? Or is that just a description?
Oh, he's a white man. I'm scared of them, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. And he said he wanted to rip my fireplace out, and I'm very scared of, like, rats and mice, and I only had 4 hours sleep one night, and I didn't get to sleep until I started reading the Tony Blair's autobiography.
Yeah. Why did he want to rip your fireplace out? Was that just like a general threat, or?
No, because they keep coming. I'm going to call up tomorrow your colleague. You know the Matthew Barnett, Cushy barrister Barnett.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call him up because you know the one before you, the barrister.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
because I don't want to let them in my house, but they keep coming around saying we're going to rip the thing
could have been it could have been just a sort of idle threat that if you don't let us in your house, I'm going to rip your fireplace out. But it wasn't actually talking about your fireplace.
They keep contacting me, and as I said, I'm at high stress levels, and I I got 4 hours sleep. Then I read Tony Blair's biography. Now, quickly a political point, if I can. He said that he was shouting at his ministers sometimes, not allegedly. You know, the Charlie Falconer, he was saying that it was a loud bang to that. He was saying
why are you whispering?
And actually, today I did a big bang on the ceiling this time. So, kitchen. Now, but listen, he was saying that he was shouting at the Charlie Falconer, you know, he was his secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was shouting at him on the New Year's Eve because he messed up the transportation and he used to make fun of his weight and stuff. And he would often shout at ministers, but apart from that, Tony Blair was lovely.
Yeah, apart from that.
And because the problem is, you're going to hate me for saying this, but the woke media, which you are a part of,
mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's me for saying this, but you have not mentioned the fact that allegedly Boris Johnson, he prolonged the war. Did you see the interview?
Yeah, I didn't see the interview, no.
But we can't talk about it because we have no free speech in the UK.
Well, that's right, yes. If only I had free speech, then I certainly would be able to talk about that interview that I didn't see. Yeah, no.
But the Boris Johnson, all of your Twitter fans have watched it. But the final thing if I can say, is that actually, they're doing the knocking again. But the last thing I want to say now, because this country now, they are all going after the Sunak, and it is to do with the celebrity culture. Because did you watch him being interviewed by a new gay on this morning? Good Morning Britain.
A new gay, did you say?
Ryland Clark, the tall homosexual chick.
No, I didn't see that either, no.
Because I think, I know his voice is very rich, but I don't think, you're going to hate me, I don't think he's a bad person because everybody has a limit. And even the chap from Coldplay, he pushed a paparazzi right to the floor a few years back because of, having a camera put in his face.
What, the hippie from Coldplay?
Yeah, even this is the point I'm saying, that everybody has their limit. He pushed the paparazzi to the ground, snatched his phone and started running. So everybody has a limit.
Yeah.
And even Daniel Radcliffe said to the paparazzi, I'm not in the mood for talking, so we need to respect the boundaries. And can you put in a nice post-it or something with the Matthew, with a barista? Please.
Yeah, I'll leave that with me and I'll think about it. How does that sound?
Okay, Happy New Year.
Another satisfied customer. Follow-up text from the one that I just read before. Yes, half the garden was underwater. Yeah, well, that's the important part that you left out. That was vital to the understanding of that text. This morning at 9:33, I got a text and a phone call saying that the stream at the bottom of my garden might flood, said that texter. And what am I supposed to do with that? But the important part he left out. It had already flooded. Archie says, did you notice the bookies have slashed the odds of World War III to 20-1? Do they know something? No, they don't. And if World War III did start and it was thermonuclear, then you'd never be able to collect. So they could make it any odds they blooming well want. Harry will attend the Super Bowl after giving a speech to American footballers without mentioning his father, said Will. Well, that's this weekend, isn't it, the Super Bowl? Most boring sport ever. I mean, it's worse than cricket. American football is the worst sport that has ever been invented, with the possible exception of baseball. When Americans once more break out the beers, this is the mail from beginning of the month. Many Americans will be more excited about what's going on in the stands than anything happening on the field, because one of the Kansas City Chiefs player, I believe he's a tight end.
Disgusting.
That's what they call them. He's called Travis Kelce. I think that's how you pronounce it. And his girlfriend is a person called Taylor Swift.
Rock and roll!
Whose music I am blissfully unaware of. I have never knowingly heard a Taylor Swift song, although I am aware that she's a bazillionaire and is currently at the top of the pop charts. Does it sound like I know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, the people in America, you know, the people of a ding-a-ling persuasion, those people, they think that Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce as a publicity stunt in order to further the interests of Joe Biden. They also think that the Kansas City Chiefs have been put into the final by the deep state, so that Taylor Swift will have a reason to stand in the stands, and by that method to gain even more publicity, which she will then turn the spotlight onto Joe Biden in all his marvellousness. The plot involved not only rigging the Super Bowl to ensure that the Chiefs went all the way to the final, but fabricating Swift's romance with this bloke, all to ensure, as a prelude to her endorsing Biden, as she did last time around, that the couple can take centre stage this Sunday night. 115 million people watch this thing. I cannot believe that can be true. They don't surely sit there and watch the whole thing. It takes 4 hours, these matches. It's about 5 seconds of action, and then they stand around and talk about it for 5 minutes, over and over and over again. It's just the absolute worst. Donald Trump is said to be complaining about the 34-year-old's potential influence, 34 as in Taylor Swift, while his inner circle plans to declare what one called a holy war on her. Well, at least, in this country, we still have America over us in the list of laughingstocks of the world. Republicans' war on Taylor Swift has prompted the claims that Trump risks stirring up a hornet's nest of outraged Swifties, which is what her fans are called, who in November will make sure they turn out en masse to vote Democrat. Another claimed that Taylor Swift is a secret Pentagon agent engaging in psychological warfare. I'll sum that up for you. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? AIDS to the 81 years old. That's how old Joe Biden is, 81 years old. Aides to the current president are drawing up a list of celebrities and ex-politicians who will throw their support behind him, and having Taylor Swift on board is the endorsement of their wildest dreams, so they say, she being the most fabulous person in the world ever this week. Of course, Trump could use a legion of famous names in support of himself, like Kanye West, for instance. Whoop-dee-dee-scoop-poop. And I wish him the best of luck. I don't, actually. That's a lie. I lied about that.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
Brett says, do you think that it's slightly bonkers to complain about a traffic jam you was a part of? That's exactly how he put it. Only pedestrians have the right to complain about traffic. No, Brett, that is incorrect. Only drivers have the right to complain about traffic jams. Pedestrians can be quiet about it, or I'll come over and rip them a new fireplace. March in text, now we're out of the EU, we can keep red lights, we can keep red traffic lights forever. Yes, thank goodness for that. Now we're out from underneath the unelected communist dictatorship of the European Union. We can get rid of all of those woke rules that they have imposed on us, one of which is that traffic lights should change every now and again. You know, just to avoid drivers getting bored, just staring at the same colour for 3 hours. Sam Batch, hello, John.
Oh, yeah, I mean, looking at what's been going on, I think Labour needs to get ready for a dirty election.
Well, are you kidding? It's going to be the dirtiest election in the history of this country.
The right-wing papers are gearing up.
Yep.
Sky Television is right-wing. BBC isn't that much good either. And they need to, if the opposition going to get dirty, they need to learn to get dirty too. And right now, I just see a bunch of wimps.
Yeah, I don't think they've got it in them But you say wimps. I say decent, honourable people. I think that the election is about to get stolen right from under our noses, like Trump is trying to do in America. They might not actually succeed. I mean, the polls suggest that they won't, but they're going to try their hang on. They're going to try their very best to get it by any means possible.
I don't mean wimps in that way. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. They are decent, honourable people.
By comparison.
At some stage, you've got to say, I ain't standing for this.
Yeah. At some stage, you've got to admit that you're in a street fight and take a knife to a knife fight, not a poetry book.
Yeah. Or like, what was it, Sean Connery said, don't take a knife to a gunfight, take a gun or something like that.
Well, it's the way he told them.
Yeah. But, what was that thing?
I have no idea.
Photo ID for the elections?
Yes. It's another one of those cute ideas they stole from the Republican Party in America.
I mean, now there's an argument for Labour to attack.
Well, they have done, but it's a done deal now. What young people have to realise is that it is not in the bag, and the next election is not written yet. The future is yet to be written.
Affirmative.
And so you must do your bit. Dib, dib, dib. Get a photo ID, if that's what they're trying to prevent you from voting by insisting on a voter ID. Well, chuck it back at them. Get one. And then go and vote.
Yeah, and Labour needs to get on that bandwagon and say, get on that bandwagon and say, take your photo ID and vote.
Yeah,
because if you don't like this government, do your bit.
I just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Well, I'm agreeing with you. So
happy days.
I know, eh? All right, thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Tristan texts, why does Tucker Carlson have such a weird fetish for raging psychotic tin pot dictators? I, for one, was grateful to him. He has finally given us a real glimpse into the world of Vlad the Impaler. He really is a dream. What, this kind of dream? Like a blooming nightmare he is. He's just thinking about the money, honey. Tucker Carlson, who's the who can he get to drive up his numbers? Because is it a podcast he does now? Because he got sacked off Fox, didn't he? Fox News, which is really bizarre. I think he was their number one rated host, wasn't he? After they got rid of that other guy. For reasons of indecency, I believe. But, yeah, I mean, just, who can he get an interview with that is going to please the far right in America, who, weirdly, actually like Vladimir Putin? What's going on there? Apart from they're just believing the tsunami of misinformation that's coming their way on social media, much of which is probably paid for or to the order of Vladimir Putin, as we most certainly got during the Brexit, the run-up to the Brexit referendum. Undoubtedly, he had a hand in that. Natalie says, I was able to get in to see Prime Minister's questions this week. From where I was sitting in the public gallery, it looked as though Titch's trousers came all the way down past his ankles. I was actually quite surprised. I think he might have been listening to your show and asked his mum to buy him some new trousers that fit. I thought you should know, says Natalie. Well, I appreciate the update there, Natalie. I would have to see it with my own eyeballs to believe it, but... Apparently, the thing that Tucker Carlson does is just a show on Twitter, not even a podcast. Well, I think that counts as a podcast, doesn't it? A show on Twitter. I mean, no doubt you don't have to watch it live. You could watch it at your leisure, as they say in America. But, yeah, you can make a ton of money if you get enough eyeballs on your output, which is exactly what he wanted. That's why he went to see Vladimir Putin. Why else? It's all about the money, honey. All about the money. Stu says, I watched some of the popcorn conference. Oh, popcorn. No, not popcorn. Popcorn. I watched some of the popcorn conference, so you don't have to. Blunder Trust seemed as unhinged as ever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 30p Lee seemed to think that trees are the same as coal. He did. What an asinine thing to say. He said that coal used to be trees. So that makes them sustainable. That makes coal sustainable because it used to be trees. These people are running the country. Can you believe that?
No.
I am stunned. He says, Smug complained that pompous and overprivileged people have been ruining the country for far too long. Yeah, Smug has said that.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away.
Straight away. Smug was complaining about pompous and overprivileged people that have been running this country for far too long.
My view.
Somebody get a mirror over to Smug's place. And I think Stu says, I think they keep saying popcorn, which sounds about right, as they're both tasteless and overvalued. A listener with material. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Adrian says, stuck traffic lights and it taking you 2 hours to drive 10 miles. I blame Meghan Markle. Well, you know what? I blame Meghan Markle as well. Thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. No! You see what you've done?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
And I can't stand him.
David says, if you don't like using decimals with imperial measurements, which never sounds right to me, like 3.5 inches, that's just, it's a clash of cultures. It's just wrong. Says, if you don't like using decimals with imperial measurements, the nearest to 3.9 inches, we're talking about snow, would be 3 7/8. That is equivalent to 3.875 inches, so close enough to the 3.9 inches you read out. Maths lesson over, says David. Yeah, not a moment too soon.
Boring.
God, I was staring out the window, dreaming of double games. Chris says, I hope you'll be pleased, but today my voter ID arrived, so I scuppered their little scheme. P.S. I wonder if next week the Tories and Sunak will be after the disabled. After all, I expect that it's my fault that I was born with cerebral palsy. What an absolute shower we have running the country. P.S. Where's all the money gone? Yeah, nobody has any idea. Well, somebody does, but they're not letting on. Yeah, where's all the money gone, Titchy suit size? He doesn't remember.
No, I don't recall.
He doesn't recall that or anything else. I don't know why we put up with it. Doesn't recall.
No, I don't recall.
Don't
recall. Yeah, I can't specifically recall.
Remember
can't
that, or
precisely
recall it, or precisely,
and
on and on. Embarrassing. Yeah. Tell us again about the integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism, and accountability
at every level. Joanne says, so with the evil remark Sunak made in Parliament, did you notice how on the same day he held a party broadcast with a whiteboard saying why we should vote Tory? If he treated us if we were... What? He treated us as if we were all 12-year-olds in that broadcast, which made me mad, says Joanne. So my alternative is to invite him to a whiteboard party explaining who is supposed to serve us, the little people, like a 12-year-old. says Joanne, who in her fury was just stabbing at her phone with her thumb and made a couple of errors in there, but I think I glossed over them. Nobody noticed. Oldbury. Hello, Rangers.
Hi, Nick. You all right?
No.
Why not?
Everything that I've been describing in the last hour, plus I've hurt my back. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
No, you never complain.
No.
Right, let's start right. You know, okay. I'll talk about the traffic lights after, yeah?
After what?
You know, after what I'm talking about Rishi Sunak and he's alleged, he's paid £500,000 in income tax.
Yeah, thereby saving about £300,000 because he got it through capital gains and not wage.
Right, simple, right? They're jumping up and down that the doctors want a £5 pay rise to get them to near enough £20, and they're saying that's a 35% pay rise. See how they manipulate it? So, £500,000, what proportion is that of his total income? How many percentages is it?
Oh, you're asking me to do maths now?
No, stop doing your maths, right? What I'm saying is probably like 0.01% of his total wealth or his income.
Oh, his total wealth, yeah. It's off the scale.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So they, personify that the doctors want 35%. But yeah, they're saying, he's paid £500,000 and we're supposed to have a baby over it or something. Yeah, we're not, mate, because we understand you saved yourself a lot of money even though you paid £500,000, right?
Yeah,
okay?
I mean,
it's a drop in the ocean for him.
Yeah, so we are led to believe that he paid £500,000. I mean, I would be interested in seeing his tax return, not just for this year, but for the previous year and for every single year that he has been, a member of this government. Would be interesting. Yeah. And why can't we see that?
What I'm trying to say is the way they manipulate, percentages to their advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a lot. 35% sounds like a lot, but it's actually chicken feed.
It's chicken feed, yeah. And this other thing about, when you're on about these traffic lights, yeah. Well, where my shop is where the aquatic centre was for the Commonwealth Games. So the last 4 years, all the roads and infrastructure, while they were building this aquatic centre, we've had so many traffic lights, the ones that you, 4-way lights, 5-way lights,
right.
You buy one, get one free, yeah? And it got so frustrating for us because all the businesses, we lost a lot of money over it, And they bought a cable in from about 2 miles away and they had to relay the road. And I spoke to the guy, I said, mate, you know what? You've dug this trench about 2 or 3 inches deep and about a foot wide. How long is this going to take? He says, a week, mate. All they do is check it out and fill it back on.
Yeah.
I said, mate, you know what? I'm a businessman. If you was on piecework, how long would it take? He says, mate, we could do it in about 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It takes a week. Right? So when they apply for planning permission to get these lights up, they normally apply for, say, 3 days plus, error, what could be up to another 2 weeks. And they do not take them down, whether the work's finished or not. Yeah? Because that's in their contract and they get paid for it. So when you say, where's all this money going? It's into projects like that. And then they decided to take off the 3-way lights or whatever it was around by. One was a 4-way light.
Yeah, that's what I was stuck in today. It's just an absolute nightmare. I mean, you might as well just cancel the rest of your life because you're going to be late forever.
Yeah, and I'm not condoning this, but all the shopkeepers got fed up the one day, right? And they just moved all these lights and these fences away. And everybody was still moving quite freely.
Yeah. Well,
right?
That's what I would suspect would happen, is that traffic would move much more freely if they just got rid of them.
Yeah. And, you should not take, red lights in there. And the other thing that I was really worried about you, Nick, was, when somebody was tapping your window, right? There's people that go around robbing people and throwing stuff at them when they, never open your window.
Never open my window. No, which irritated him more than a little because he was tapping on my window. So, where are you going?
Yeah.
What a bizarre question to ask somebody who's in a car stuck at the traffic light. Where am I going? What the hell's it got to do with you?
Yeah, I mean, in my last job, when I was a driver, we was taught defensive driving, right? Never go bumper to bumper with the person in front of you, because you should always leave enough gap, right, just in case you need to make an escape.
Back up a minute.
Right?
Back when you were a what? You learned defensive driving?
I used to be a truck driver, and I used to drive vans, of high-value loads,
Right.
And we was told...
Like what?
Well, in the trucks it was vodka, right, jewellery, right. In the small vans it used to be Rolex watches and everything.
In case anybody wanted to get drunk and buy jewellery. That makes a lot of sense.
No, but defensive driving is you do not, in traffic, you try and keep a safe gap between you and the car in front of you. Right. So if you have to pull out, it's better for you. But like you've seen, obviously the last 14 years, right, we've had more police than ever. We've had more rich people than ever. There's no food banks. There's no one nicking tins of beans from your local supermarket. So there's no crime whatsoever, according to Sunak and his trust and all them like.
Well, I am glad to hear that.
Yeah, so basically society is now getting a bit more nastier, right, and people are taking more and more risks, right, and then obviously, when I've listened this morning about shoplifting on LBC, people are complaining that, when they phone the police, they say, hang on, how much have they nicked? If it's less than 200, we ain't coming,
yes,
right? And I wanted to get on the radio, but they wouldn't put me on. I was going to say, all right, then tell you what, we won't call the police, right? But we'll let the shopkeepers deal with it ourselves, right? And when the person is splattered all over the floor somewhere, right, then the police we don't condone violence.
Then they're going to arrest you.
That's the thing, though. So the good, hard-working people now, are frustrated. That's what I'm trying to say to you,
right.
Nick. So why is it taking you 2 hours to get to work, right? And which has put you in a bad mood, right?
Who, me?
Which has hurt your back, right? You never complain, you never whinge, right?
No.
Okay. So it's put you in a bad mood. Yeah. And then that boy from Calcutta, right, Jonathan,
Oh, yeah.
You know what? He's lovely, right? But the thing is, right, he goes on about the hokey-cokey.
Yeah,
and he meets all the politicians.
Right.
You should tell him, say, his friend, Nick Abbot and Ranjit, are complaining about these traffic lights.
Okay.
Yeah? Are they buy one, get one free? And
right.
is that what... Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Ranjit. Got to go. Because, just got to go. Alex texts, I cannot believe that this tiny Terminator that we call the Prime Minister not only placed a £1,000 bet on the status of refugees, but also insulted a dead transgender child during PMQs. Could somebody please tell him that he is already short enough and does not need to stoop any lower? Did you see he went to a dental practice in order to get his photograph taken? He went to meet ordinary people again.
Oh
no! Have his people learned nothing? He can't do that very well. But that was priceless. I'll get to that in a minute. Well, maybe later. Don't press me. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose a friend.
Rock and roll!
0345 6. Wow, it was almost like Grandmaster Flash was in the studio there for a moment, eh?
No.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
Yes, I am all out of laughs. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed with that whole traffic light issue. I cannot believe that it's going to be like that until the end of April. April? What are they doing that's going to take that long? I mean, there's no evidence of any work at the moment, of course. They've just put about 1 million cones in the street, taking 4 lanes into 2, with the resultant chaos, and then putting up those temporary traffic lights. And there's no evidence of any work going on there whatsoever. But they just snarled up all the traffic because apparently they can. And they're booked in there until the end of April. I am outraged. Surbiton, hello, Ray? Or Rax? Rax.
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 Oh, Nick, I can't believe I'm speaking with you. I've been a really big fan of you for a very long time.
Thanks, Rax.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I would listen to you on Catch Up or on YouTube, but I tuned in about half an hour ago and heard somebody singing the praises of Rishi Sunak and how the poor Rishi has suffered racism as a young lad. And as a British Asian, I'd just really like to talk to you about how I feel about having Rishi as a Prime Minister. I've got a nephew called Rishi. He's 15 years old, and he was so excited when somebody with his name became Prime Minister, and he has now become so embarrassed, understandably, about how things have turned out. And same for me. This is not the first ever non-white Prime Minister that we've had as a country. I got a little bit excited, even though I'm not a big Tory fan. But within hours, I was very, very disappointed. And the fact that I heard Rishi say this week that his family has heard the P word, and it's not a thing that it's a thing that no longer exists.
Right.
It's not true. I mean, I'm 2 years older than the Prime Minister, and I grew up in an age where, fortunately, I didn't experience as much racism as my parents did when they came over here in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the 80s, 90s, and in London, which is a thing, I think. But I grew up fairly, multicultural Britain. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then I can't blame this on Sunak, but after Brexit, literally the day after Brexit, and I live in Surbiton. I've got a white French wife, and the day after Brexit, I was very sad, as was she. Absolutely devastated. Yeah. But I had, the day or two after Brexit, somebody said to me, "Go back to your own country."
Of course they did. Yes,
of course they did.
Because
I've never felt that as a British person.
Certain individuals just opened the box on that and let the bats fly out. Yeah.
Absolutely, bat. I was going to swear, but I'm not going to bat something crazy.
Yeah,
and
like a bat out of hell.
Yeah, but I was fine with that. My wife got very upset with that, but it was something that I kind of I've never experienced. And for Rishi Sunak to say this week or the other week that it's the P word is. I imagine
that he was instructed to do that by his handlers, who were trying to shift the dial on his polling. So he's going to. We must forget that he's a bazillionaire.
No, absolutely,
and concentrate on his struggle. Oh, please.
But this whole rhetoric of being the most diverse cabinet, and he doesn't represent me. Absolutely, he's one of the richest people in the UK.
It's not a diverse cabinet.
No, it's not.
You have to forget about the colours of their faces.
Absolutely.
They are the same. They're not diverse at all.
They're all singing from the same hymn sheet, and for me personally, Nick, and when I first opened this course, I love the fact that you raise this more than a lot of other presenters on LBC. I'm not going to have any allegiance to Rishi because he's brown, but as a brown man in Britain, he doesn't represent me, and I'm more attuned to people who are struggling under these 14 years of absolute chaos. But for someone to say that in a very public way, almost that there is no racism or it is less racist, I have never felt under more pressure. I've never felt more racism in the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, well, hatred is what is their currency. They want to make people angry, and they want minorities to be fighting amongst themselves, so that we forget about what it is that they have done to this country over the last 14 years.
But I think he speaks to he is trying to speak to a people because pressure's on his political party to speak to a certain type of person. Racism doesn't exist. Of course it does.
Yeah, of course it does.
But I can tell you, Nick, right now, I have never felt more under scrutiny. And I'm British. I was born here. My father came from Kenya, my mother from Tanzania, and my grandparents are Indian. But I've never felt more non-British as I do right now.
In closing, I would invite you to go back to where you came from, which in this case is Surbiton.
Thank you.
Thank you. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, Rishi Sunak's struggle. Do me a favour. He got born to a GP, and his mother was a pharmacist who owned her own chemists. He then went to Winchester, which is one of the most expensive private schools in the land, and from there straight to Oxford, and then to Stanford. And from Stanford to Goldman Sachs, for crying out loud. And then he made £100 million on a bet. And then he married somebody who was worth £1 billion. Yeah, please, tell us about your struggle. 0345 6060 973. Pete texts, Bojo is telling the truth for once about other countries copying our Great British Rwanda policy. No other countries are sending anyone there either. That's a good point. Yeah, they are in fact copying us in that regard. Tooting, hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, Jan.
I'm sorry to hear about your
my everything.
Weight.
Yes, my everything.
Weight well, I was ringing up to share a couple of experiences about waiting, but a different kind of wait. Just waiting an hour and a half to get through to a bank, to a bank.
An hour and a half? What?
An hour and a half, and I didn't realise that my bill would be charged at, for 36p a minute if I go over an hour. And
right. Yeah, you have to hang up and then redial, don't you?
No, I didn't. Because
I said you have
to.
I
was cut off. I got cut off. They said and the horrible music that was being played for an hour and a half. I found myself singing it as well. But then I had a good experience though with the bird watch. I waited. I did it all day. I did a kind of my personal.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah, I think it was just 1 hour, wasn't it?
No, but I did it from my window, and I thought I want to find out what this bird is that was singing so beautifully in the morning. And
yes.
Tried to record on my mobile phone, but it flew off by the time I was wakey enough to record it.
Your mobile phone?
No, I mean, the bird.
Oh, the bird. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I've got the tree crowns outside my window, and the birds perch there sometimes.
How many crowns?
Well, the tree head.
3 crowns, right?
No, the tree head fills one of my windows.
3 crowns.
And, the leafless tree branches.
Yeah, 3 of them.
So I identified a bird. I felt really pleased that I was able to identify the bird.
It was a cuckoo.
No, it got on my nerves. It really gets on my nerves. It's got it sounds like it's singing one note.
I can understand that.
And I managed to see it. It's actually what's called a great tit.
What, sorry?
It's called a great tit. It's like the size of a blue tit, but it's a great tit.
Right.
It's got some unusual...
What is so great about it?
Well, but I find its song is the most monotonous thing, and it gets on my nerves, and it's taken to perching outside my tree. But it was worth my while keeping my attention to the bird songs coming through, coming to the trees outside the window, because that beautiful bird I heard singing in the early morning sang when I had all my windows wide open. I couldn't see the bird, but I managed to record the song it was singing. It might be a warbler.
And?
I've never heard it before.
You can get an app that tells you what the bird is that you're listening to.
Oh. Well, I don't know. It may be just an occasional visitor, but it's such a beautiful song, Nick. I've never heard it before.
Well, try it.
I've recorded it.
Okay, well, sing it for us.
I'm not a warbler.
I beg to disagree. Thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. Bob says, what's more, there's never any actual work being done, just a man in his van looking at his phone. Yes, that's right. But in this instance, in this nightmare that I suffered this evening, have I mentioned that I suffered a nightmare?
Yes.
Yeah, I may have mentioned it in passing. There wasn't even a man in a van looking at his phone. Can you believe that? Just nothing there, apart from cones and malfunctioning traffic lights. Nobody in the history of humankind has ever suffered more than I have suffered personally this evening. But, you know, it's not something that I care to complain about.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Craig says Trump is on another roll addressing a rally. He told them that his doctor says Trump will live to 200 years old if he doesn't eat junk food. Do you think he could get a second opinion? He's doing another one of his safe space rallies, is he? Is he really? Well, what does he know?
I'm not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. What does he know? John texts, there are comparisons made between Labour and the Conservatives. What's the point in voting as they are the same? But there are nasty right-wingers with Conservatives. Voting Labour isn't the same, says John. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure that it does. Shall I read it again? No. OK. Another John, presumably, says Belfast rappers have been refused funding as the UK government have blocked them receiving any funds. That doesn't... Yeah, that's probably... I'm probably better off not reading any of that. Greg says, I was left speechless this week when Kemi, the bad Enoch, tried to turn Fish's sick trans joke on Skier, scoring political points. I know. What on earth is going on in this country? You know, genuine question, I would actually quite like to know. Because I did not recognise this country anymore. It seems that, I don't know, we've morphed into somewhere else. We've morphed into, I don't know, Dingaling World. You have to be this nuts to go on this ride.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
Lucy texts, I see that Donald Trump's 2024 campaign slogan is Make America Great and Glorious Again, otherwise known as MAGAGA. Could that be a good summary of his fan base? Yeah, quite possibly. MAGAGA, it's like baby talk. And so it fits in perfectly. Make America Great and Glorious Again. How are they going to fit that in a hat? MAGAGA. That's idiotic, Donny.
Oh, shut up!
Taking it well. 0345 6060 973. Aisling, Bromley.
Hi, Nick.
Aisling.
Hiya, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Sorry to hear about your traffic incident.
Oh, what a nightmare.
I know, it sounds painful. You wouldn't want to live in Ireland, though, because there's those traffic lights everywhere just spring up and spring down, although I suppose we don't have as many cameras.
Really? Temporary traffic lights?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, random roadworks in random places that just tend to stay there for months and nothing actually happens.
I think that people would be able to negotiate an interchange
people just go
without the lights. I think that if they just took away the lights, traffic would flow more smoothly.
Maybe.
You're not convinced, all right?
No, I don't know. But in terms of the roadwork ones, I mean, in Ireland, people just drive through them. They don't really tend to adhere to them. But well, originally I was going to call you in to ask about, like, is this just me or is this normal? I mean, a lot of people have their dogs off leads, like, all the time in, like, public parks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's obviously quite a problem. But the other day I was in a country park nearby and there was a lady with, like, 11 dogs off lead.
11?
11, yeah. It was a pack of dogs. And I was like, is this normal? Like, is that a thing?
Well,
like,
maybe, was she a dog walker? Because people do that for
identical.
Money. Oh, right.
But they were all identical and none of them were on leads. Dog walkers tend to have them on leads.
What kind of dogs were they?
They were brown, like, they weren't, no, okay, yeah, very funny.
You're going to have to be a little more specific than that. Brown?
They were, see, because they were kind of like Springer Spaniels, but they weren't Springer Spaniels.
Right, so it's a proper sized dog. It's not like a dog that you can put in your handbag.
No, they were big.
Right,
they were big dogs.
And they were all, she had 11 and they were all the same?
Yeah, they were all identical. They had, not like collars, but sort of like ribbons around their neck. They all had different coloured ribbons.
Right, so
I know,
tell
it
them
was really
apart.
strange. But the thing is, as well, they weren't behaved. Like, they weren't obviously trained well enough to be off-lead.
Yeah.
So they were kind of jumping all over the place. It was just strange. I was just wondering, like, that's not normal.
Well, I've never heard of somebody with 11 dogs. Not even a dog walker.
I've never seen it either. I've never seen it not here. I mean, obviously, if you're at a hunt or something, like, you'll see a lot of dogs. But,
right.
But that's why it was strange, because it was in the middle of like a woods, a country park, and there was a lot of people with dogs. So yeah, that could have ended. Not so
I think
good.
we have a problem with dogs, really. The human race has got too attached to dogs, and we grew up together, as species, but we grew up when the human beings were living in caves or in, hamlets with large amounts of land around, and the dogs would run and run and run and run and run, and they wouldn't have to be penned in because there was no traffic, because cars hadn't been invented. So, so we're used to each other for a different way of life. But now dogs sit in a flat on the 12th floor of a high-rise building, and then they get a desultory walk around the block to pee on a lamppost once a day, if they're lucky. I mean, I think our entire relationship with dogs is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought was strange. I was like, where do these dogs live? That was kind of what I was thinking as well, aside from the fact that they weren't obviously quite well trained. But it's definitely, I think it's the owners. I know it's a tired argument, but I think sometimes it's the brazenness of the owners. Like, if somebody's dog runs up to me and jumps up on me and gives me a fright, I know it's really annoying. If the owner at least apologises, but for the most part, they look at you as if you've done something wrong. Yeah, like by being there,
because they treat them like they're their baby. And don't try to tell a parent that they're being being a bad parent, because you will get a stern response.
It's really annoying, though. It's really annoying.
Well,
and
I'm with you.
My parents have 2 little dogs in Ireland, but even when they have them off the leads, and like we've got like canal lines and stuff that but there's no one on them. They tend not to have anyone on them, but I'd even say to my dad, put them on leads. Like, even though they're small, little fluffy things, it's still really annoying, because not everybody wants to be jumped on.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not... I love dogs. This is the thing. Like, I really love dogs. I think what annoys me is the selfishness of the owners. Anyway, it's just something that gets to me. But,
all right. Well, try deep breaths, Aisling. Try not going to that park anymore. I mean, I know that sounds like a bit of an extreme position for me to hold, but maybe you just shouldn't go out.
No. Actually, while we're on the traffic thing, what's wrong with the South Circular Road? I hate that road.
Well, they've all got something wrong with them. If it's not potholes, then it's temporary traffic lights. If it's not temporary traffic lights, then it's 8 billion cones that have been put up for no apparent reason whatsoever. And there seems to be something wrong with all of them, apart from the speed cameras, which are working perfectly. Thanks a lot, Aisling. 0345 6060 973. Marion says, it's a new moon tonight through till tomorrow, just to warn you, as if you needed a warning. Simon says, you said the American football is 5 seconds of action and then standing around talking about it. That sounds that sounds like my sex life, he says.
What?
I can understand the 5 seconds of action, but standing around talking about it for 5 minutes? That seems somewhat unnecessary. 0345 6060 973. New Malden. Ahmed.
Oh, hello. Greetings, Nick. It's been a while.
Ahmed, it sounds like... Wait a minute. It sounds like you're talking to us from a well.
Well, I'm trying to keep it quiet because everyone is asleep. So let me go downstairs, I think.
Go downstairs, yeah. Get out of the bathroom.
That's right. Yeah. Before I talk about 2 topics... Can I just say, I just can't believe how the world is being run. Most of our leaders are either senile or jokers or comedians or schoolboy measure.
Or all of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Exactly. What is happening? I mean,
I don't know.
The way country's being run.
Yeah, I think the human race has taken a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and to talk that, it's disgraceful that Liz Truss has the audacity to now start this new popular conservatism.
Yeah, and what a great name for a band with 0 followers. Popular Conservatives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's disgraceful. She has the audacity. Single-handed, she destroyed the national economy in 1 week, less 7 days.
About 10 seconds she managed that.
Yeah.
Her and her backers have been dreaming about taking the reins of the economy of a major country for decades now, and when they finally got their wish, they screwed it up in about 2 seconds.
It's just unbelievable. And, the thing is, these are all unelected bunch of incompetent amateurs.
Yes.
I mean, none of them. Mind you, I did have a look at Liz Truss' CV. I just cannot believe how could she have become president of her Oxford university. I just cannot believe it.
Really, she was president of her year at Oxford University? I find that hard to believe as well. I mean, that does really give it sort of puts that whole the best brains go to Oxford and Cambridge thing into context, don't it?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, this guy went to Oxbridge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And this guy went to Oxbridge.
No, I don't recall.
He doesn't recall it, but he went. Believe me.
Unbelievable. And also, what's this Rishi Sunak keeping a 36-hour fast? Did you hear about that?
No.
36-hour fast. Now, I thought the cost of living only affected the down and trodden.
Why does he fast for 36 hours? What, every week?
Well, maybe it could be for, religious or whatever custom, I suppose it is.
Well, how often does he do it?
Maybe once a week, possibly.
Once a week?
And, the impact of that is, how come... instead of him losing weight, his suit seemed to be shrinking. Have you noticed that?
This is from the 1st of February. I tend to try and do some fasting at the beginning of every week as part of a general balanced lifestyle, Sunak said.
He said many other things as well.
Yeah, he did, many of which some of which are true. He said Sunak fasts for a 36-hour period each week. What for?
Each week. Exactly. I mean, these are just distraction, I think, they are coming on because they have nothing. But,
well, maybe if he actually ate something every now and again, he'd be able to remember stuff.
No, I don't recall.
He doesn't recall. Still doesn't recall. Have a snack, Rishi. Please, do us all a favour.
Well, I mean, the thing is, how come everyone is just going with the flow? I mean, the thing is, the national newspaper... I'm sorry, I have to say sometime, your colleague, Nick Ferrari, is one of my favourite presenters, no doubt. Mm-hmm. But yesterday morning or so, I think it could have been yesterday morning, I mean, I was going to phone in and say, you sound like you're a paid a member of a Conservative Party. I mean, he has to obviously strike a balance, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But there are certain things you cannot put accents on. There's no way. They are either right or wrong, and we know how many things are... There's not much working in the country at the moment.
No, that's right. But you have to remember, Ahmed, that no one is interested in facts anymore. We're all about feelings now, baby. But I appreciate the effort there. Thanks a lot, Ahmed.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hello? Number, please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, I'm sorry to keep this caller waiting in Earl's Court. Hello, Sean.
Oh, hello. Hey, you got to laugh, haven't you, Nick?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you didn't laugh, then,
I've almost forgotten the reason I was phoning.
I'd be crying. Yes.
Oh, yeah, well, hey, tears of joy, that's the main thing.
Okay. Let's call it that.
Anyway, let's get back to the reason, if I can remember, because the thing is that now in my 67th year, I'm kind of forgetting things. But I'm going to go for this. I'm going to see my GP on Monday for this new Viagra thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's sort of, kill two birds with one shot, innit?
Well, they say that people who take Viagra have better mental acuity.
Yes, but how did they do the, what you call placebo trials? Because surely, if you have a Viagra, you go up immediately.
I've got absolutely.
So
I've got no idea.
You're on the placebo,
right? Well, I guess so, yeah. But why would your doctor give you a placebo?
Well, if you do trials, you have a placebo and the real thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it'll work for women with Alzheimer's.
Well, I don't. Right. Well, I don't know either, Sean. But leave it with me, and I'll look into it. By the way... Warning! Don't Google anything that man just said. 0345 6060 973. Harry texts, you think we don't already have a holy war against Prince Barry and Sparkles? They've destroyed this country. He came over to see his dad, paid for his own flight and expenses, and then went back home. But we all know he wishes he was here with us, really. I bet he talks about us all the time, and we just ignore him. Nobody cares about you anymore. Says Harry. I have absolutely no idea what that's about, Harry. What are you talking about? Martin says, Ofsted's new 2018 electronic evidence gathering digital platform can sometimes crash and lose all the notes from interviews or even whole days of evidence, so that school inspectors have to replace those notes from memory without letting onto the school. When the IT system crashes, they make it up. Well, I'm looking at that very story in Schools Week publication. It says, Ofsted's system for recording inspection evidence has for years suffered glitches that wipe data and force inspectors to re-record their findings, sometimes from memory, after a visit has ended. What is it with this country and computer systems? Ofsted's electronic evidence gathering system replaced pen and paper in 2019. Oh, you remember pen and paper, don't you?
No.
It doesn't crash. It won't get wiped if you drop it on the floor. It's the future. Ofsted's electronic evidence gathering system replaced pen and paper in 2019, but has encountered issues, according to multiple current and former inspectors who spoke to Schools Week on condition of anonymity. Inspectors described situations in which their screen froze and evidence disappeared in front of their eyes during visits. Spooky. Who made this system? Fujitsu? Nothing works in this country. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done? He's ruined everything. 0345 6060 973. Glasgow, Chrissy.
Hi, Nick.
Chrissy.
You dancing?
Who's asking?
I was hoping to just cheer you up. You sound like you've had the worst night.
Yes, awful.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry I can't cheer you up by being one of the drunk callers. I'll just have to be sober. The news about... There was a terrible story about a lady that had been extremely ill in A&E and ended up becoming unconscious in A&E after a 7-hour wait. And she'd been resting under her coat, and when she was finally attended to and somebody had a look at her, she was desperately ill, and they had to move her. She was unconscious, and they moved her to intensive care, where she died a couple of days later. It's a terrible story. And so with the health being in focus this week, because there was a lot more stories about A&E waits, etc., I was actually in for an x-ray yesterday again on that leg of mine. And the system was so fantastic, and it made me wonder if in England you have the same thing, because if you don't, perhaps you should think about it.
the GP just writes a little kind of slip to say, this is where you should go. And you go to a glorified health centre. It's not quite a hospital. It's a kind of minor injuries unit.
Yeah.
And you go there and you just walk in. As long as you're there within 3 weeks of when the GP has basically tapped on the computer and sent a little referral through. If you walk in the door any time in 3 weeks and sit down in what's always an empty waiting room, they'll come out in 5 minutes and take you. By the time I'd parked the car, went in and out, I was in and out in 15 minutes, and there was nobody else waiting in the room. Now, that's done as a kind of an easy come-and-go type of service. And I do wonder if that might free up some space.
Well, that sounds like it makes sense to me. I mean, I just went through the process of organising a blood test. I mean, the doctor said, you've got to get a blood test. We are instructing you to get a blood test. Simply go on to our website and book yourself a blood test. Is it simple?
No.
No, it is not. It couldn't be less simple. I mean, it's as though it's some sort of mastermind quiz in order to get yourself a blood test, at the end of which you don't even get the blood test. They will look over your feeble efforts at filling out the form, and then contact you at some future date, if you're lucky, and tell you when you can come in to get a blood test. It used to be that you just walked in. You walked in, you took a number, you sat there for half an hour, and then they go in and do it for you. But you're not allowed to do that. Since COVID, they don't want anybody in the building. It's bizarre. It used to be crammed full of people, the GP's place, every time I would go in there, because it's a big sort of hub facility.
That's what this place was, but I had the X-ray. Right. It's a big hub.
Yeah, and there's no one there. It's completely deserted, uninfested with patients.
Fumigated all the patients.
And what they did at the beginning of the thing, which I mistook for them asking me when I wanted to come in, because it gave you the, here's the month and next month, fill in the date and time. And so I stupidly thought, they're asking me to fill in the date and the time that I want to go. That's very good service. So I filled it in, and that wasn't it at all. They were asking me to fill in the time when I couldn't go.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah. I mean, you would be presented with that and you would just assume that they were asking you when you want to go, right? No.
But hang on, is that not actually the same thing, though, Nick? If you're telling them that it's Monday at 3:30, that means you're available at Monday at 3:30.
No,
so
because... No, because I had to fill in 2 months' worth of information about when I could not go. And this isn't even when I can go to get a blood test. This is when I can receive a message from them telling me that at some future point I would be able to go and get a blood test. So I had to fill out 2 months' worth to tell them when I couldn't receive... it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
Things are really bad down there. I used to be a phlebotomist years ago. I used to live in Harlow, and I worked many years ago, and I worked in the hosptal there as a phlebotomist, just somebody that goes around taking blood out of people. Yeah.
You studied flobs.
Yeah. And we used to just sit in a little cubicle, and as you say, people would come and take a ticket like they were in a deli, and you'd shout them in and you'd take their blood. Job done. And then I qualified as a nurse, and to my surprise, although I did some in training, I did in the placements I went to, when I got to my actual place of work, you were no longer allowed to take blood. We had to call a phlebotomist to come to the ward to take blood. When I'm a nurse, I can just do it there and then.
Yeah.
But they don't allow you to do it, and the doctors wouldn't do it, and the doctors are useless because they don't do it very often. It's us that do it. So it's just not good.
The whole world's gone crazy.
And my son was up from Hereford last week to get dental treatment. He travelled from Hereford to Glasgow on the bus to get dental treatment, and he's done that twice now to get a root canal because he can't get a dentist in Hereford. It's absolutely mad down there. I feel really sorry for all of you because although things are squeezed up here, they don't seem to be quite so bad.
Not as bad. No, all right. OK, well, thanks for the good news there, Chrissy. There's a tip for you. If your tooth hurts, move to Scotland. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan texts, I think that Rishi Sunak has a medical condition that prevents him from saying sorry, because that would mean he is wrong. Rishi texts, everyone is picking on me and I don't know why. Hey, Rishi.
Stop whining.
Yeah. Stephen says, I've seen so many people screaming that the attention on Biden today is pro-Trump. Why can't some people realise that neither option is a particularly good one? A lot of people seem to enjoy locking themselves up in their own little echo chamber these days, says Stephen. I'm sorry, Stephen, you're going to have to speak up because I can't hear you through my echo chamber. Dal says, I think you should have given that caller a bit more of an opportunity to tell us why he thinks that Rishi Sunak is struggling because he was bullied as a kid and his mum had to save him, says Dal. Do you? Do you really? 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Colchester, Judy.
Hello, Nick. I agree with your sort of frame of mind this evening when you say, what is wrong with this country. I just despair of it sometimes. I really do. And
I didn't used to. Did you used to?
No, of course I didn't. No, I mean, Nick was talking this morning about the fact that some of the schools up in Wales, when the bad weather was forecast, the schools actually closed before there was a snowflake appeared. And, I immediately thought of when I was about in 1963 when we had the terrible snow.
Right.
And because people were ringing up and saying that. I mean, I can remember I just permanently wore Wellington boots going everywhere and had a mark round my leg because, but it... When you
I'd have to disagree with you about the snowflakes, though. I think the snowflake... There were snowflakes. They were the people that closed the schools.
Oh, exactly.
Boom.
Yeah. That's what Nick was saying.
Was it?
Yeah. Sorry about that. But no, nothing does get done. No one ever rings you back, when they say they will. Oh. But there's one thing that I thought... In where I live, we're all suffering with flooded roads and potholes, aren't we? Oh. But where I am, the school in the village, along the pavement, such as it is, if you can call it pavement, that they have to access to get into school. When we have the rain, it floods along there. And that means the children have got to walk out into the busy road. Unless they want to wade through all the water.
Right.
Now, one would have thought that it being a school, it might get a little bit of priority.
Yes.
Anyway, you would think so. You'd like to think so. Anyway, I walk up that particular part every day, so I know it. It was like it yesterday. But I have been trying my best to draw attention to it. And nowadays... people don't expect anybody to do anything, and they say to me, I don't know why you bother, and I think, it's hard when you've got a conscience. Do you know,
Judy, you're beginning to sound like one of those woke people. You're not doing the okie dokie, are you?
Okie dokie.
Not anymore, not since I had my bad back, no. Right. I've written to various bodies and I wrote to my MP.
Oh, yes.
I emailed my MP.
Who's that?
Bernard Jenkins.
Right.
And it was picked up by one of his, people in his offices, who's referred it to someone to this one, to that one, to another. I've had an email back this week to say that a certain person at a certain council County Council has said that it will be, to do this job, will be added to the ad hoc list. The ad hoc list of work.
Ad hoc. Right.
Ad hoc.
Ad hoc.
I mean, how can you get an email back with such a flippant, casual, throwaway remark about when they've completely missed the point. You can't get all the flooded roads and pavements because it's all got so bad now. It's going to take years to put it right. I won't be here to see it. But when it affects, my point was, and I made it quite clear, if the sight of children being expected to walk out into a busy road... In the middle
of the road, yes.
Rather than wade through a load of water...
You'd think they'd make it his number one priority.
It's the country's number one priority.
That's what I would have thought. I would have thought, but no. And I sit back and I think to myself, well, Judy, why do you bother? But,
exactly. Yeah.
I just...
Well, somebody has to.
Yeah. Well, I think so. It's not just me. Is it? You have to, but I always look forward to you on the weekend.
Well, I appreciate that, Judy. But you do understand that in making a complaint, although it was justified, you have yourself gone on some sort of ad hoc list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I've been sidelined onto an ad hoc list now. I mean, I just... Did you say ad hoc? Ad hoc hit? It's ad hoc. Ad hoc list.
Hit list. It sounded like you said an ad hoc hit list. You're on a hit list.
Wow. Well, you get one of your little sound bites out for that. But yeah, it just infuriates me. I've tried to speak to the headmaster and all these people. Yep. They say, oh yes, it's terrible. But it just carries on,
It really is awful, and something should be done, they say, and then shrug their shoulders and carry on with whatever it was they were doing before you bothered them.
Yes, exactly right, Nick. Yeah. Happy days, as my neighbour says.
Yeah, I'll go to the foot of our stairs, Judy. Well, I would if I had any. I guarantee it. All right, thanks a lot. Cheers, my dear. There you are. So she's just trying to do the right thing. And what does she get? Abuse. Mike texts, Truss's Comic Cons said that she wanted to restore democratic accountability. Can you just remind us of the colleague that wanted to prologue Parliament? Says Mike. Any thoughts, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. Caroline texts, forget the pop cons. Apparently there is an army of secret cons, not to be confused with ex-cons, who identify themselves in the workplace with funny handshakes and the code word letters. A listener with material.
Oh,
no. Ed says, last time I heard the quote, they used to be trees, was in a Mr. Dan Leno gramophone record dated 1901. Do you remember it coming out, says Ed. I have no idea what you're talking about. Chris says, make sure you cover Laura Trott stating on Radio 4 that debt was forecast to go down over the next 5 years, hence they could consider tax cuts, when actually debt is going up. But don't worry, she's just a Treasury Minister. Yeah, I dealt with that at the beginning of the show, Chris, in amongst various other outbursts. It sort of unhinged outbursts. I think we can all agree that that's what that was. Yeah, it was just very, very emotional. West Devon, hello, Rose.
Oh, hello. Are you unhinged, dear?
Yes, I am. I've come off my hinges.
No. Oh, dear. Well, it's three nature references, Nick.
Yeah.
Great tits. I like Chan, but I disagree with her about the great tit, because I love that sound. It always means spring's coming at about the end of January, beginning of February.
Well, what do they sound like?
It's just that pink, pink, pink. Pink, pink. It's repetitive.
That's rubbish song.
Well, I can't do it, can I? I've not got the right voice box.
I'm sorry, Rose, but you failed this test. Ping, ping, anyway, ping, ping. I mean, it sounds a bit like this.
Ping, ping, ping.
Ping, 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 ping. Yeah.
Well, but I did have a
as I say, I've always loved it, and that links in with something else. But before I go on to the link, there's I just mentioned, I suddenly remembered about 3 years ago in my garden there was this incredible song in the summer. So it could have been, it could have been a migrant that I just did not recognise. And it was really sort of, it sounded not esoteric. What's the word I mean? Exotic.
Oh, yes.
And yes, and eventually I managed to see it through the leaves, and it was a great tit.
Like this?
I thought, no.
Like that?
That's a great tit, yes.
Well,
it's nice, isn't it? Don't you think?
That's a rubbish song. It's got 2 notes. It should learn another tune, crying out loud. What's great about it? Rubbish. It should be called Rubbish.
Well, anyway, it was singing this aside. I thought, well, I'll have a look in the book. And it does say that they are capable of suddenly doing these amazing songs. And if you can't identify it, it's probably a great tit.
Right.
So that was something learnt.
Well, I mean,
the other thing
ordinarily, it's just lazy. It's just doing the same thing over and over. It has the ability to sing something mellifluous and melodious, but it just it sounds like a squeaky door.
Well, it is extraordinary, isn't it, why it doesn't do this melodious one more often. And I suppose it probably does, and people just think, well, I wonder what that is, and they can't find it, so,
It'll be a robin, they think.
Yeah, it was more exotic than that, but...
how do such tiny little things make so much noise, by the way?
Oh, I know, isn't it wonderful?
How do they do that?
I know. And I was going to lead on to this, because funnily enough, I saw this, there were about 3 of these trees with masses and masses of white blossom on. Well, some of the flowers are out and a lot of them aren't yet, and then tiny little green leaves which aren't out. And it gave me such a thrill. I thought, because I heard the great tit the other day, and then I saw this, and I thought, well, it's spring, you see.
No.
And indeed, you see the link I'm making, indeed it is the cherry plum, which is the first blossom to come out. So that I thought it might cheer you up, because I know what you are with the flowers.
It's a little bit previous. I think we've got a lot of cold to come. I mean, we only have to get through, the end of February, and then March, April, May, and then June, and then it might get nice and warm.
Yes, right. But then the bird that Jan was saying that she's hearing in the morning, I mean, it's too early for blackbirds. It could be a robin, but she'd recognise that. So I'm thinking it's...
early?
Yeah.
Well, what time do blackbirds get up?
No, too early in the season. You know what I mean, don't you? Too early in the season.
Oh, right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. I have heard them start towards the end of February, but...
right.
But the song thrush does sing through winter, and it is a glorious sort of, not terribly melodic, but just this, this burst of sound.
Yeah.
It does get up early. And it's a funny thing with the thrush. It's so lovely to hear it in the winter. You do every so often. And it always makes me think of, I know you don't like poetry, but there's this wonderful poem by Thomas Hardy called The Darkling Thrush.
Yeah, please,
check it out.
No, I certainly will do nothing of the sort.
Well, tell Jan to check it out if she doesn't know it.
OK, you hear that, Jan? Homework I'm giving you now.
Yes.
All right, thanks a lot, Rose. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. I can't believe that birds have to get up at that time in the morning and go and eat insects. Have you ever had an insect, like, fly into your mouth hole? It's the worst tasting thing you could possibly imagine. And it takes what seems like days to get rid of that taste. If they had to get up, if you had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to spend your day eating insects, well, I mean, you'd just throw yourself from a tree, wouldn't you? You'd you'd put your little wings by the side of your little body, and you just chuck yourself out of a tree, wouldn't you? Oh, I don't know. Let's stand it.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Mary texts, I thought you would have grabbed the latest smog absurdity that he spouted at the popcorn gathering, the pious platitudes of pompous politicians. I think that's what he said, if memory serves me right. He obviously had no idea that he was talking about himself.
My view.
Yeah, exactly. I know. How can you be so unself-aware that you, smug, can come out with the pious platitudes of pompous politicians? and not for the thought to even flutter across his vacant mind that he might actually be defined by that phrase. Amazing. Unless it's just another distraction bomb. But I just don't think so, because he doesn't appear to have a sense of humour. 0345 6060 973. Huddersfield. Hello, David.
Good evening. Now then, speaking of that group of individuals who were at that conference, I was thinking about Lee Anderson, or Lee Handkerchief, as I've started thinking of him with all his tears. He voted at the last minute because somebody ridiculed
fun of him. Yeah, they were laughing at him. Yeah, so he stuck to his principles and changed his mind.
Correct, right at the very last minute. So who's he representing then? He can't be representing his constituents, so he can't, he had to represent his own ego right at the last minute. What does that say about our current level of democracy?
Nothing good, that's for sure.
Not only that, the guy at the end of the news started talking about the weather, which is your normal area of expertise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So standards are slipping everywhere you look, Nick.
Everywhere you look, David. It's an absolute outrage. And I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
Well, have a word, and next time get it in its proper order, like Sir Donald would.
Right. Well, you do get extra points for getting it in order. There is no doubt that.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points for getting it in order.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points. Any fool know that. Thanks a lot, David. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Sharon says, it seems that every day Rishi Sunak is just gaslighting us little people. I couldn't believe he made a bet with Piers Morgan for £1,000. When people are struggling for every blooming penny to keep afloat, talk about rubbing people's noses in it. Yeah, and then he said he wasn't a betting man. He literally made his money by betting, gambling. And the big gamble he made all of his money on was a thing that precipitated the financial crash of 2007-8, which the entire world is still trying to get out of the hole that was caused by that. Everybody else suffered. He made £100 million. Tell us again about how how you've struggled. The only struggle he has ever experienced is when he caught a cashmere hoodie on a Gucci coat hanger. Ada texts, please stop picking on Rishi. He has nothing to apologise for. Leave him alone. He's doing his best. You know what? I think that's probably right. I think he is doing his best. And what does that tell you? Uniquely unqualified to do that job. I mean, even worse than this guy.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but he's even worse than this.
Absolutely.
Person. Because she didn't come in saying, I'm going to be straight talking and I'll tell it like it is and integrity and all of that jazz.
This government will have integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level.
Every level, yeah, sure. 0 levels. I mean, at least the Blunder Trust didn't try to con us with that load of old flannel. Daniel says, in response to today's podcast with Carol, wet air is called mizzle, a combination of mist and drizzle. Thank me now, or later, your choice. Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Daniel. Yeah, I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin, in which we do have a laugh, occasionally at my expense. The idea is that we solve people's problems. Now, if you would like us to have a bash at your dilemma, then you must send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, but you must prepare for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? We've got over 200 episodes up on the internet, and we do 2 a week now. Such is its staggering popularity. It is a laugh, and I think you'll be amused. I know I am. It's the hour in the... 2 hours now. 2 hours in the week that I do tend to laugh the most. We just set each other off. She's nuts.
What?
It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. It's on Global Player. If you haven't got Global Player, then get it for free from your App Store or globalplayer.com. And ask for that podcast by name. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?
Yeah.
0345 6060 973. Aberdeen. Daniel.
Hi, Nick.
Daniel.
There's a couple of 3 things.
Yes.
About the NHS, first of all. Your previous caller was talking about the treatment centre. I broke my leg last August.
Oh, yeah.
And so I phoned the NHS, and they made me an appointment for the next day. I mean, I was in blinding pain, but I made it to the next day. I got a taxi down, and I was seen within 5 minutes. And I was in and out of there in 20.
For a broken leg? Well, what did they do to it?
Well, it wasn't a full break. It was a fractured ankle.
Right.
So I went in there, went to reception, had a seat, went in for x-rays, went and waited again, went to another room, saw the doctor who had the x-rays on his computer screen.
Yeah.
And that was it. And in the intervening period before that, I got one of those little Velcro boots. And that was it. I had to wear it for about 6 weeks.
Right.
Even in bed.
Well, like one of them, it looks like a ski boot.
That's the very thing.
Right.
Yeah. There's a couple more things.
But what you've described, I mean, you've just described a situation in terms of stunned amazement. But that is what you should actually expect from a health service.
Yeah, this is it. It's amazing when it all runs smooth.
Yeah.
It's like flabbergasting.
Yes, it's exactly right. Yeah.
We've come to expect service, which is absolutely rubbish.
Correct.
And I hate to say it, in the past 13 or 14 years, this has all gone downhill.
Well, I wonder what that coincides with.
I don't know. I was actually speaking to Nick Ferrari about this yesterday, and I said to him, the problem is with Labour and the Tories, what they're both grasping for is credibility. And neither of them have got policies on the table that make them credible. And they're offering up all these sort of promises and guarantees and everything, and it's just unachievable. It's just waffle.
Well, on Labour's, as far as Labour is concerned, you put the 14 years on it, that things have got worse in that period, which means that before that time, things were better. And things were verifiably better as far as at least the NHS was concerned. I mean, we had the world's most revered health service, and people's appreciation of it was through the roof. So they might say, the Labour Party might say, well, we're going to get the NHS back on its feet. And you might think, oh, well, the last 14 years of experience with political promises means that I don't actually believe any politician about anything. But Labour used to run the NHS, and it used to be better. It used to be very good.
Well, it's a bit like that documentary you like. Is it Adam Curtis?
Oh, yeah. Which one?
I think it's from 2016. It covers Trump, but hyper-normalization.
Yes.
It's a bit like that, where everyone seems to be sort of... It's like they've been brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
And people...
Willingly. I think... Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Hey, people. Wake up. It's later than you think. All right. Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
No, there's nothing funny about it. So Rishi Sunak paid £500,000 in tax, apparently. So we are led to believe. Anybody believe that? Yeah, well, I'd like to see evidence. But it does mean that he paid about 20% capital gains tax. Because the wealthy don't become wealthy through their wages. They become wealthy through the appreciation in value of their assets. Shares, gold, property, that sort of thing. So he made 1.8 million. He paid £500,000 in tax. Now that sounds like a lot of money, which is why the rich do tend to do anything they can in order to avoid paying tax, because even if you tax them at 10% and they made £10 million that year, they're still going to have to write a cheque for £1 million, and they don't want to do that. So it's not the percentage that makes them run away to some hellhole tax haven. It's the amount on which that percentage is levied. And so he paid 20% tax if it was capital gains, but if he'd got it in wages, he would have paid 45%. So less than half. What a racket. We are such mugs. You go to work all day long. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6, maybe 7. You run down to the bus or the train, you squeeze into it, and you go to work doing something you don't like for 8 hours a day, and then you reverse the process in the evening, and you're so tired you fall asleep watching the news. And for that, if you are earning over a certain amount, you pay tax at a rate of 45% as a grunt, as a worker. If, on the other hand, you are rich, you just put your feet up, smoke a cigar, having got up whenever you blooming well like, and have somebody bring you some tasty comestibles on a silver salver, and your earnings accrue without you actually having to do anything. And on which you pay just 20%, not 45%, which is what a worker would pay. 20%. And we're okay with that, because they're the wealth creators. Sure. And by the way, when people like Rishi Sunak get £1.8 million, does anybody ever say, oh, well, you really shouldn't, because that's going to fuel inflation? No, they do not. He has the nerve to tell that to doctors who are asking for, a reasonable amount on which they'll pay full tax, that they can't have that reasonable amount because it will fuel inflation. You can't have 20 quid an hour because it will fuel inflation, whereas he gets £1.8 million a year, but that doesn't fuel inflation. That make any sense?
No.
Not to me neither. Arundel, Guy.
Oh, hi. Hi, Nick.
Yes, Guy.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good to speak to you. Sorry, I was looking for the dog collar. I was listening to your programme, and it's made me cry with laughter, to be honest with you. I've just discovered you recently, and I look forward to the weekends just to listen to you, actually.
Oh, thanks.
Well, one of the things I look forward to at the weekend. But, I wanted to call in about various things. The great tit, the lady with the great tit, I thought was just amazing. I did hear her call in a few times before, and I just think your program is a mix of hilarity, serious politics, serious discussion, thrown in with a bit of
and a lot of
lunacy.
Yeah, a lot of great tits. Exactly.
Yeah, but By the way, do you want me to play you? I just found the great tit because I didn't know what it sounded like.
Yeah. No, I found
it.
I found
you
that.
found it?
Yeah, no,
I thought it was quite nice. I'm not into tits. I'm not into birds, but you know, I quite like the bird song. I mean, but that lady, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I don't know. I find that kind of
after a while it could be a bit irritating.
Yeah, a little bit annoying. Yeah.
It would take me probably. Yeah, I mean, I used to have pigeons on my balcony in London, but now I live in.
They really are annoying.
They are annoying, and I didn't make the biggest mistake when my father said, "Do not let them hatch the eggs." Yeah, the pigeons laid eggs in my balcony in Hackney when I lived up there, and I made the mistake of not taking his advice and letting them hatch.
Well,
I thought, don't want to be cruel. They're the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life.
Are you kidding? I've never seen an uglier thing in my life. Aliens from space.
They were like aliens from space.
Yes.
And not only that, they created such a disgusting mess on my balcony. I went away for 1 week holiday, came back, and
absolutely
it was
everywhere.
Unbelievable. And the worst thing about it was when they came back again. Of course they came back again. And so what I had to do was...
I tell you what... yeah, go on.
Yeah, I called the council.
The
and they
council?
Said, Hackney Council. They said, we can't do anything about them. They're protected. I said, what are you talking about? Yeah, protected.
Pigeons are protected? Why? Because there's so few of them?
Exactly.
I had...
But not only that, but foxes are protected in Hackney.
Right.
Or in London. And,
well, they seem to be doing very well. They figured out how to...
Well in the city. I mean, they hardly ever see them in the countryside anymore. I mean, I live now in Arundel.
Well, yeah, maybe they commute. Maybe their second home is in the countryside.
Commute. They definitely commute, yeah. But my reason for calling wasn't about the great tit, but was more actually about civil servants and the lack of accountability. Now, okay, I had to give up work about 12 years ago. I ran a PR office for a big leisure company, which was owned by Ken Todd and Lisa Vanderpump. I don't know whether you've heard of them. They're part of this American reality show. But anyway, I had to work for them for 10 years, setting up various venues in the West End. And they were tax exiles. As in, tax exiles. They didn't pay tax in Britain.
Right, okay. Well, I don't know where you're going with this, and I'm starting to feel somewhat uncomfortable with it. But if you hadn't named them, then I would maybe have allowed the rest of it. But unfortunately, Guy, I don't know where you're going with it. That is probably not a destination I'm keen on. I bought a ticket to somewhere else. But thanks for the effort. 0345 6060 973. Do you think I made the right decision?
No. Actually, I've just checked, and this man was charged with tax evasion in 1989.
Right.
Sorry, you wanted me to be honest.
No, I didn't. I absolutely did not want you to be honest. Supportive, perhaps. Can I get a little help here, please? John says, just wondering, if Titch's dad was a doctor and his mum was a pharmacist, why didn't they... OK, that's just nasty. Stop going on about his size. I mean, usually I would, I would not condone such comments, but in his case, it's kind of hard not to. Stan says, it's a disgrace that Starmer has shown fiscal responsibility recently. We want our politicians to throw good money after bad. PPE, HS2 and the Rwanda scheme are great examples of spending billions of pounds and having nothing to show for it. Starmer out, says Stan. Yeah, that in reference to him ditching his green policy, which I was going to talk about in detail tonight, but it seems that time is running away from me, mostly because of all these callers. They ring and they ring. How do they get my number? Can you hear that thumping? I think it's the kids. It's the kids on the floor below. It's the Capital FM people. Hey, kids, keep that racket down. Harry says, what policies has Sunak implemented that you hate so much? Sunak has been good. He sorted out the Northern Ireland situation, did he? He introduced furlough. He had zero choice. Every country did that. He supported Ukraine. Western countries have all done that. He has refrained from cutting taxes too early. That's because you cut taxes just before the election because you don't want the public to forget about it. And he's helping bringing inflation down. Liar! No, he isn't. He has absolutely no control over inflation whatsoever. If he did, why did he let it go up so much? You can't claim credit for bringing it down if you claim no responsibility whatsoever for setting it up. He says the media never acknowledge this, though, because positive news doesn't bring headlines. Yeah, they also have a thing about truth. I mean, some of them do. I mean, if you just want lies, Harry, about how great Rishi Sunak is doing, then there's probably a leaflet going to be popped through your door any day now. Chingford. Hello, Tony.
Hello there, how are you?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I've got to cheer you up a bit because about your blood test fiasco that you had the other on running thing. Well, on Thursday, I went down to the doctor's. I picked up my form for my blood test, because I'm getting on a bit now. And I went down there with my guide dog and got the forms and went round to the place. And the lady just said, well, you can come in now. You don't have to make an appointment. Just have a seat and we'll get it all done. And then she said, in future, you don't have to wait. You can just come straight in and we'll do you straight away. So I thought that was really nice of her.
Blimey.
And she's a very nice lady.
Right. Well, Chingford sounds like a place to be.
Yes, indeed it is, even though we have got Mr. Dunkin' Donuts as our MP, which is a little bit of a shame.
You can't have everything, Tony.
Can't win everything, no. Not at all.
So
can I mention her name?
No. So did you, when they tested you for blood, did they find that you had any?
Yes, I had some.
You had
and
some
I got
blood.
the results on my phone straight away, so now I know that I've got high cholesterol, so I'm going to have to go back.
Oh. Right. Well, okay. I wish you the best of luck with that, Tony. Salmon, I believe. That's what I read this week. Salmon is excellent for cholesterol. Not giving it to you, but, dealing with it. But don't take advice from me, because I have no idea what I'm talking about on this or any other subject. But that was one of the miracle cures that they were talking about in the newspapers just the other day. Unfortunately, you can't eat salmon because they grow it in farms, and it's just this soup of poop that they circle lazily around, as opposed to swimming in the big wide the big wide open ocean. I mean, you can buy wild salmon, but it's very expensive. Craig texts, I'm brining a big knobbly potato ready for tomorrow's lunch. Crunchy jacket spud, cheese and beans. Brining? Wait, as in putting it in salt water? I am brining a big knobbly potato for tomorrow's lunch. Crunchy jacket spud, cheese and beans. Oh, here's a recipe that has just popped up on my screen. Let's have a look now. Manage options. Your personal data will be processed, and the information from your device, cookies, unique identifiers and other device data may be stored by, accessed by and shared with 135 vendors and 65 ad partners, or used specifically by this site or app. Do I have to manage my options or give them consent? I mean, can you just be bothered with this stuff anymore? Why can't we just say no once and that's the end of it? Every blooming site you go on, you've got to give your details over, your waist size and your, other assorted measurements.
Disgusting.
Awful, the stuff that they want to know. And if you don't say yes, then your name's not on the list and you don't get in. I'm going to manage my options. One moment, please. Do I consent to 118 vendors knowing who I am and what I'm doing? No, I do not. Use limited data to select advertising presented to you on this service can be based on limited data such as what you're doing, where you're doing it, and who you're doing it to. No, I don't want that either. Do you want to create a profile for your personalised advertising? Certainly not. What else? Will I allow them to measure advertising performance based on legitimate interest? What does that mean? No. Oh my God, it goes on forever. You're not allowed to just say no once. You have to say no to all of the above. And the big button that it defaults to is still accept all. I've just spent the last 10 minutes not accepting it. I'm going to confirm my choices. The next thing that comes up is a message saying, enjoying this? Well, let me think about that.
No.
No! Join 1,000+ subscribers, get an email whenever I post a new recipe. No rubbish, no spam, just good eating. And then there's a space for my email, and there's no way of getting rid of it. I just wanted to know how you cook a potato.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. Let's go to Cornwall and speak to Malcolm. Malcolm.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Snow and snowflakes. A quick word on Starmer. And a quick word on Biden, if I could, Nick, please.
Yes.
Snow and snowflakes. You're getting callers, I don't believe it, snowflakes calling you, telling you about schools closing because of snow.
Yes.
And then I'm reading in the Yorkshire Post and various other newspapers and North Wales newspapers and Yorkshire newspapers of 30 roads closed, 40 roads closed. Yeah. Why are they closed? Because snowflakes are ignoring the warnings that places like schools and other places are closed, therefore stay at home. And these people are literally clogging up the roads because they're crashing, Nick.
Yes, morons.
Morons, absolute morons, snowflakes, I like to call them.
Yeah, no, I don't think snowflakes are busy driving, trying to blast along a snow-covered highway. I don't think snowflakes are doing that. I think it's that.
No, they are, Nick. They are.
But I don't think that they are snowflakes. I think they're morons.
Well, yeah. All right. Nick, they're one and the same to me. Snowflakes, as we understand the term, or the people who hurl the term around.
Right.
From me are the actual snowflakes.
Correct.
Rees-Mogg.
Yes.
Rees-Mogg complains about snowflakes. Yes. He is the biggest snowflake I've ever encountered in my life.
Exactly.
But anyway, on Biden and this allegedly killer report on Biden. Well, I think people need to stop and take a look at who wrote this report. The special counsel, or whatever he was called in America, who investigated Biden, was a clerk for one of the most right-wing Supreme Court judges in history.
Yeah,
he was an aide to the American senator, the pilot John. Oh, come on, they cut me out here. The guy who helped Obama when he told that woman hold on, you're wrong about Obama. He's a perfectly good man, all the rest of it.
Right.
Oh, come on, John
McCain. Yeah, John McCain. Yeah.
John McCain.
Now, John McCain, I would suggest that John McCain was not a particularly right-wing senator as far as Republicans go.
However, he was a Republican. Right?
Yes.
He stood against Obama. That was the whole thing about that, wasn't it? So, and then the other thing is that this fella, he wrote that Biden couldn't remember when his son died. Now, I can put myself in Biden's shoes. Being a man of 62 with a daughter of 30-odd, Biden's son was a young man when he died. And I can imagine Biden, when he's questioned by this fella, and he's asked as a memory test, when did your son die? I can imagine Biden literally almost in his head exploding, thinking, of all the questions you could have tested in my memory with a friend, that's not going to... So I can imagine Biden saying, I don't remember. Just out of sheer anger and malice towards the fellow asking him this stupid question, Nick. You not think?
I think that
So that's that one covered, right?
Yeah, overall, I think it's a bit sad that Biden is the candidate to try to beat Trump, because although there aren't very many years between them, Donald Trump seems to be on, I don't know what he eats and what he drinks. Maybe that's what a diet of food that comes in buckets does to you. But he seems to have certainly a lot more energy. Now, I wouldn't say that he's more mentally acute than Joe Biden. Trump forgets things and gets things wrong, and apart from anything else, he is Donald Trump. The only successful thing that Donald Trump's ever done is to convince people that he's a success.
No, I just think that the criticism of Biden was the first thing I would say is he's not Obama, shall we put it that way? And I think that whoever followed Obama followed the Democrat. Wasn't what was always likely to have a less than easy ride.
Yeah.
But bringing it back, Nick, then to home and Starmer, I think this £28 billion pledge he dropped is an absolute stroke of genius. And I know one could be easily forgiven for thinking, well, it's another U-turn. Absolutely it is, because he knows where it will lead. It will just lead to people, snowflakes, actually, who might vote Labour, believing this utter nonsense. That Labour could spend £28 billion in the first year, when clearly they couldn't, because the country hasn't got the money. So
we do have the money. They can just magic money out of thin air, but it's a decision about what you spend the money on. And I would say that spending £28 billion, which is kind of matching what Joe Biden is doing in the States, with great effect. I mean, we can only dream of having an economy that's as healthy and robust as the one that they got in America. But you invest in order to make money. So I think it would be money well spent. Apart from anything else, it's spending it on moving in a positive direction. But he doesn't want to do anything that they can criticise him for, which seems a bit, it seems a bit timid as far ahead in the polls as Keir Starmer is.
Well, I didn't see there again, Nick. I was with the people who said we need more policies a while back, and then I fell into the school of thought. Well, no, because you're going to get roasted in the right wing press.
Well, he's going to do that anyway. It doesn't matter what he does.
Even though the people who are calling for things that Labour are traditionally well known for, like health and schools and all of these sorts of things, the old people need schools, need health, young people need schools, and so on and so forth. But I just think, Nick, that the things we want Labour to say, I think they will simply do them. I don't think they want to get involved now in a big debate as Labour used to do, virtue signalling in that we're going to make it the best of the schools.
I can understand that Keir Starmer wants to make the manifesto or all of his pledges bomb-proof or attack-proof from the Conservatives. But if you're going to enthuse the kids to go out and vote, which is, the polling, it looks great for him, but that's not necessarily who will actually leave the house to go out and vote on the day. And younger people tend to have a bad reputation in that regard, that they can't be bothered. Older people, who are the demographic that votes Conservative, 65 plus, they all crawl over broken glass to go and register their vote. Absolutely determined they are. They're so thrilled with the last 14 years, they can't wait to have another 5 years of it. So if you're going to get the kids out to vote, you've got to give them something to vote for. You've got to give them some sort of hope, some idea that it's going to be different. But all I get from people who call this show is, it wouldn't be any different under Labour. Well, you've got to smash that. But he seems to be too timid or frightened, or I don't know what it is. Maybe frightened is it. Frightened of losing this massive polling lead, which would amount to the biggest political upset certainly in recent history, and Keir Starmer doesn't want to be on the wrong end of it, I guess. I can't think of any other explanation. Yeah, thanks for that, Malcolm, but I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go because I've just run out of time. I've got to go